Dallas is rocking day 4 and the stage is massive. 9 games here and it starts with a proper scrap. Netherlands and Japan walking out like 2 prize fighters. Top 20 quality everywhere you look. Quakers got the kids in tow, but nobody's here for breakfast.
Now that's a momentum shift. Netherlands' ask depth just collapsed and the big sell wall moved up to 0.99, SO 0.49. Suddenly looks a lot more breakable. At the same time, the draw offers are piling in 80.28. Big tell here. Flick Raw just added serious size and the tape shows buyers stepping up at 0.49, so Netherlands is pressing like a top seed chasing an early goal. With the main sell wall pushed way up to 0.99, near-term resistance.
And the noise drops into that respectful hush. Every scarf held still, every camera finding a face. This is the calm before the storm, the heartbeat of a nation in a single song. In a moment, it's all thunder again. Once more, the stadium rises as one. Goosebump stuff, isn't it? You can almost see the players breathing slower, trying to bottle the moment before the whistle sets everything loose. This is where belief turns into action. Everybody up again. This is that spine-tingling pause where the whole arena feels like it's holding its breath. You can see the focus in the eyes, pride, nerves, and a little bit of fire. Next sound you hear, it's football chaos.
That's a clean breakout setup. Netherlands' sell-side liquidity just evaporated, and the next real offer is up at 0.5C with much lighter size. Buyers have open grass in front of them. Japan's book also tightened with heavy supply sitting right 80. Japan's book is getting heavier on the sell side 80825 while bid depth is thinning. That's like parking the bus and inviting pressure, not exactly a confidence signal. Netherlands still has a sturdy bid base 8048 with manageable offers 80.49. Draw probability ticking down a hair while Netherlands holds 0.48, 0.49, tells you the market's still backing the favorite to find a winner, even if it's not sprinting. The key is that thick bid stack 80.48. Until that gets chewed up, sellers 80.40. Now we've got a little wobble. Netherlands' top bid slips to 0.47 and the ask jumps to 0.50, so the spread widens like a team taking a breather after a big press. Depth is still strong, but near term it's more chop than clean breakout unless buyers reclaim 0.4.
Big narrative. Netherlands chasing that elusive crown feels like a blue chip stock that's never quite hit its all-time high. Give us a quick market-style angle on pressure and expectations as kickoff nears.
Totally. This is a priced for perfection favorite. And when expectations are that high, even a flat first half trades like an earnings miss. The order book tells you the crowd's leaning Netherlands, but the spread widening is that pre-kickoff nerves creeping in. One sloppy turn.
Here we go, another heavyweight from Europe stepping into the spotlight, but the Dutch are staring at that trophy like it owes them money. 5 seconds from kickoff and you can feel the tension crackling. One clean touch and the whole tournament mood. IMO, that 5G is playing like a nervous center back. One bad bounce and the whole backline panics. If it drops at kickoff, we'll be commentating an interpretive dance, mate. Someone give the router a team talk.
That little scare is gone. Netherlands snaps right back to a tight 48.49, so buyers stepped in and re-established control. Japan and the draw still show big sell walls up top, which screams hedge city if the match stays scoreless early.
IMO, this T-Mobile 5G is wobbling like a shaky defense before kickoff. Any quick tips or a market-style risk management move to keep the stream stable?
Netherlands is still the cleanest trade on the board. Tight spread, big bid depth, and that 0.48 level looks like a strong midfield shield. Meanwhile, Japan and the draw are stacked with offers, so any rally there runs into immediate supply.
That ad's got more flair than a step over in the box. Chef's special and nothing like platinum. All right, but we're hungry for goals, not fine dining. Give us that first bite of action and let's see who's cooking on the pitch. IMO, you investing in restaurants or in right backs? IMO, that platinum resi ad is everywhere. 10,000 restaurants and $400 back. From a market angle, is this premium card perks arms race actually moving the needle for Amex or just expensive marketing?
Yeah, it's an arms race, but for Amex, it's more like paying a transfer fee to keep your star striker, costly upfront, sticky revenue later. If it lifts spend and retention in that high income cohort, the lifetime value can justify it. The
Lay's on the table, World Cup on the screen. Now that's a proper match day combo. Crunch time is coming, and you just know the drama's about to start sizzling like a fresh bag ripped open.
Netherlands is getting stronger support. Bid depth pops back near 2 million and that 48 wall thickens. So the favorite's footing looks firmer. Japan's bids improve too, but the sell side is still heavy. So upside there feels like running up. We're seeing a tiny wobble in Dutch conviction. Bid depth slips and the offer nudges up to 0.5t. So sellers are getting a touch braver. Still, that 0.48 bid wall is the captain holding the line. Break that and the draw trade suddenly looks.
Lay's backing the World Cup. Perfect, because this tournament always delivers the crunch when it matters. Keep the snacks close, because once the whistle goes, it's end-to-end chaos and nobody's diet survives extra time.
Netherlands still has the ball. Bid depth holds steady and the ask stack actually thins, so there's less resistance if buyers press. Japan's probability ticks down a hair and the draw remains a heavy sell, which tells you the crowd's still positioned for a Dutch result. Now you're seeing a bit of fatigue across the book. Netherlands' bid depth eases and Japan's bid support thins, while the draw's sell side gets even heavier. Still, fresh size hitting Netherlands 8.49 looks like a late surge down the wing, keeping the
IMO, we're in Dallas, big stadium, big expectations, Netherlands stacked with talent, Japan confident but missing a couple stars. Give us a quick market view on who's undervalued here and why.
Totally. Market's pricing Netherlands like the heavyweight at roughly a coin flip, and the book support says bettors still want that jersey. The sneaky undervalue is the draw. It's priced modestly, but the sell wall suggests complacency, and big stadium nerves can turn.
Dallas is absolutely humming. This place is a spaceship, and it's about to launch a proper World Cup battle. Netherlands look like a fortress with Van Dijk at the heart, but Japan have that quicksilver edge. Kubo can paint pictures, and Ueda's sniffing blood if they get service.
Netherlands still looks like the home favorite, but the cushion is thinning. Bid depth keeps leaking while the ask side swells, so rallies may get sold into. Draw and Japan bids are fading too, which screams risk-off positioning. Nobody wants to step.
You can feel it, can't you? First match, but it smells like a knockout already in this Texas Colossus. That Dutch orange is blazing under the lights, and if their backline is the headline act, Japan's pace and craft are the plot twist waiting to happen.
Leo, this book just went haywire. Bid depth basically vanished, and we've got absurd 0.99 ask showing up. Classic liquidity pull like a stadium hush before a penalty. Feels like a halt news moment. Crowds stepped back and spreads are meaningless.
Oh, I love that analogy. When the book goes silent like that, it's pure penalty box tension, and nobody wants to be the villain on the wrong side. Those goofy asks are like beach balls on the pitch, just noise in a moment where real price discovery's paused. This has Group Decider written all over it. Even before a ball's been kicked, Dallas is buzzing like a jet engine. The Dutch might be built from the back now, but that orange shirt still screams ambition, and Japan won't be overawed for a second. It's a first group game, but it feels like the kind that decides your whole summer. This stadium's a cathedral, and the noise is rising. Netherlands bring that ironclad defense, Japan bring the spark and the speed, and something's got to give.
Bids are trying to creep back, but it's still a ghost book. Most of the support is sitting down at 0.1, not where the market's actually trading. That's classic pre-whistle jitters. Everyone wants optionality, nobody wants to show their hand, so one.
You can see the chess match already. Dutch with that classic back four trying to squeeze the pitch, and Japan sitting in a coiled spring of a back three. One loose pass, and Japan are gone like a commuter train hitting the express track.
Now the tape's leaning Netherlands. Price up to size 510.52 and win odds ticking higher, while Japan's bid support is evaporating fast. But the book is still all air pockets under the surface, so this feels like a momentum run where one bad touch can flip it.
Oh, that is a proper wake-up call. Gakpo threads it, the turn is silk, and Suzuki slams the door like a bouncer at closing time. Japan's confidence is real, but you don't survive this Dutch pressure without a keeper playing out of his skin.
Japan just got a little bid back, depth jumped, so that Netherlands' pop looks more like a feint than a clean breakaway. Still, the real tell is that massive Netherlands whale sitting around 0.48. As long as that anchor holds, the crowd keeps shading orange.
Suzuki's just kept that clean sheet streak alive with a save that's worth its weight in gold. Malin spins, shoots, and the keeper says, "Not today." And De Jong out there, honestly, he's conducting traffic like he owns the freeway. That's the moment that tells you Japan are here to scrap for every inch. Suzuki reacts like a cat on a hot tin roof and keeps them level. But the Dutch are starting to purr now, De Jong pulling strings and those orange shirts circling like sharks.
Now you're seeing the market de-risk the side outcomes. Draw and Japan both tick down a cent, while Netherlands firms back up 8, say 510.52 and 52% implied. That's momentum trading.
You can feel the air crackle in this stadium. No empty seats, just noise and nerves, and the Dutch smell blood at every dead ball with Van Dijk prowling like a skyscraper in the box. Suzuki's already under siege, and that next delivery could be absolute chaos.
Netherlands is getting real support now. Bid depth nearly doubled, so buyers are finally stepping up at the actual price, not just camping at 0.01. But keep an eye on that whale trimming a bit. If the big striker starts walking back, the whole crowd can hesitate fast. That earlier Netherlands bid wall just vanished. Depth collapsed back down. So this is classic support pulled risk, even though the price is still holding 0.51, 0.52. Japan and draw both soften a tick too, which screams low conviction. One aggressive...
There it is, Japan nick it, and suddenly it's a sprint, like someone's hit the fast forward button. Van de Ven's gone in a bit wild there, and you can sense the crowd holding its breath. This could be a tasty free kick moment.
There it is. The favorite just gave back 2 cents to 0.49, 0.5, and the implied drops to 50%. So that support pulled move is now showing up on the scoreboard. Japan's bid depth rebounds at the same time, which feels like a quick counterattack while Netherlands
Ref's right on it. Simple whistle, and Japan get that little pause to reset the spring-loaded counterattack. You can see the plan. Squeeze the space, stay tight as a drum, then explode forward the second the ball turns over. Same story again. Nakamura takes the knock, ref keeps it tidy, and Japan will happily slow it for a heartbeat. But don't blink. They defend like a wall, then break like a snapped rubber band the moment they smell space. Listen to that roar. This place is humming, and you can feel every touch getting a reaction. Japan's fans have turned it into a home game, and with their players so sharp and explosive, the Dutch know they're in for a proper scrap tonight.
Netherlands is trying to retake midfield back to 0.5, 0.51 and bid depth refills, so the dip buyers showed up right on cue. But it's still a thin kind of confidence. Japan's asks are heavy, and if that orange bid doesn't keep stacking, we're one bad touch from another.
Dallas has been crackling all week, and you can hear it spilling into every set piece now. Komarny hangs it up deep, but Van Hecke sniffs it out and deals with it. Cool head, even as the flag goes up on the far side.
Now the Netherlands bid depth is back with a vengeance, up to about 158k, so the buyers are rebuilding the wall 80.50 like they actually want to defend the lead. Japan's best bid slipping to 0.22 tells you the counterattack money is backing off, at least for this moment.
The tempo's electric. Every Japanese touch looks clean sharp like the ball's glued to their boots. And that noise, wow, the Dutch are used to traveling support, but Japan's contingent is massive, and they're making this stadium shake.
Netherlands just slipped back to 0.49, 0.50, and the bid depth eased, so that defensive wall is already taking shots. Momentum's wobbling. Meanwhile, draw asks balloon over 1 nolemmers, which is basically the market parking the bus. Upside gets capped and big tell here. Netherlands bid depth just got yanked down to about 46k, while price sits at 0.49, 0.50. Support is looking like a cardboard cutout. Japan ticks up to 0.24, 0.25, and 25% in.
You're looking at royalty in the stands. Van der Sar, Snyder, Seedorf. That's a spine any manager would sell their suit for. And you're right, the Dutch have everything humming, but a ruthless finisher like those legends had, that's the missing dagger. 3 lost finals still haunt the Dutch like a bad song you can't switch off, and that's why every tournament feels like a debt to pay. Meanwhile, Moriatsu's talking big, and with those legends watching, Van der Sar, Snyder, Seedorf, you can bet the standards are sky high.
Netherlands just ticked down a notch to 0.48, 0.49, and the implied slips to 49%. That's the favorite losing a bit of grip, even with decent bid depth behind it. Japan holding draw on 2.4, 0.25 with steady bids, says the underdog money is.
Van Dijk just took a knot clearing across, captain limping a touch. Crowds buzzing and Japan look fearless. Any quick market reaction analogy for a leader injury risk?
Yeah, that's like a mega cap CEO suddenly leaving the earnings call mid-sentence. Confidence wobbles even before fundamentals change. If he's limited, you'll see the Netherlands price leak and the draw Japan side catch a momentum bid as the crowd senses vulnerability. You can see the nerves bid depth just evaporated across the board. Netherlands down to 90k, Japan and the draw down near 25k, so liquidity's pulling back like a team dropping into a shell. Price hasn't cracked yet, 0.48, 0.
De Jong glides out like he's on ice, but Maeda's snapping at his heels like a terrier with a mission. That press is relentless. One loose touch and Japan will pounce. You can feel the tension rising.
Draw just caught a bid up to 0.27, 0.28, and 28%. That's the market pricing in. This could get messy energy. Netherlands is still the favorite at 48%, but the money's hedging like a team protecting a 1-goal lead with a shaky backline.
De Jong's trying to waltz through midfield, but Maeda's all elbows and engine, no time, no space, no mercy. That's the kind of pressure that turns silk into panic if you're not careful.
Netherlands steadied back to 49% without moving the quote, but the real tell is flick raw trimming size still huge, just not adding, so the big sponsor's a little less loud. Meanwhile, the draw bid depth is creeping up like the market's bracing for extra time, even if Iran.
Yeah, you can see the Dutch rhythm isn't quite clicking yet. Van Dijk misplacing one is like seeing a metronome stutter. They're going direct early, but they need that late runner to crash the party and turn possession into real danger.
Netherlands support just refilled, bid depth back up near 138k, so the favorites got a sturdier back 4 in the book, even if the price stays 0.48, 0.49. Draw and Japan are basically unchanged, which screams wait and see until the. Now we've got a real momentum swing. Netherlands ticks down to 0.47, 0.48, and bid depth gets yanked to 83k, while Japan firms to 0.25, 0.26. That's the crowd pressing high, one clean Japan chance, and this book can gap like a counterattack.
It is carrying it with that little burst, and Nakamura is hovering like a shadow, begging for the 1-2. If they connect cleanly here, Dallas might feel the floor shake. This is where Japan can sting.
Japan's probability nudges up to 26%, and Netherlands slips to 47%, but the bigger story is liquidity whiplash. Netherlands bid depth rebounds over 108k, while the draw ask wall balloons past 1.08. This feels like traders parking the.
IMO, Spurs sniffing it around Maeda. Transfer talk always moves markets in its own way. What's the valuation on a forward like that when he's drawing big club interest mid-tournament?
Totally. Once a big club circles, the tape trades on hype and scarcity, not just goals. Mid-tournament, you're paying a momentum premium like a striker on a hot streak in stoppage time, and the risk is one quiet match, and that spread widens fast.
Van Hecke reads it early and just shepherds Maeda away. Smart defending, no rash contact, no drama, and with Spurs sniffing around, these are the moments that scream Premier League ready, especially next to a colossus like Van Dijk.
Little mean reversion here. Netherlands ticks back to 48% and the draw fades to 27%, but pricing's still pinned 0.47, 0.48, and 0.27, 0.28. Classic stalemate. Depth is thinning. That's a real momentum swing. Japan up to 28% and Netherlands down to 46%, with Netherlands bid depth collapsing to about 45k. Support's getting pulled. Feels like the crowd just switched ends at halftime, and now Oranje needs a clean touch, or this drifts further.
IMO, that stat line is outrageous. 16 straight group games unbeaten and a win rate chasing Germany and Brazil. Feels like a blue chip nation. Steady returns, low volatility. What's your market take on that kind of tournament consistency?
Absolutely. Streaks like that trade like a blue chip. Investors pay up for reliability and dips get bought fast. The flip side is expectations become the real opponent, like a top seed tightening up in a knockout when the crowd assumes it's a walkover.
That's the kind of record that walks into a stadium before the players do. Serious pedigree, real World Cup muscle, and Dumfries there, bang, throws himself in the way like a human barricade. You don't get past him without a receipt.
We're seeing a steady grind against Netherlands. They slip 245% and the market marks them 0.44045, while Japan firms up to 0.27, 0.28. And the draw creeping to 29% tells you traders are pricing.
Van der Ven rises like a skyscraper and just swats it away. No romance, all business. But Japan are still sniffing around the second ball here, and that's where chaos lives in the box. Kubo slips it in with that velvet touch. Japan moving it with real rhythm now, but the back line holds firm, body's in the way, and you can feel the crowd holding its breath, waiting for the crack in the wall.
Now the Netherlands has its footing back. Bid depth rebounds to about 113k, and the price ticks up to 0.45, 0.46, so buyers are stepping in to defend that line. But with the draw's ask wall ballooning, this still feels like A00.
IMO, Van Hecke's stock is flying. Brighton defender, huge blocks, looks like a summer transfer magnet. From a market angle, what does a breakout tournament do to a player's valuation and the club's balance sheets?
Totally. One breakout tournament is like an earnings beat on global TV. The multiple expands fast, and the bidding war does the rest. For selling clubs, it's a balance sheet pop and pure profit. For buyers, it's paying peak cycle prices. Netherlands is leaking a bit again, down to 45%, and the quote softens to 0.44, 0.45, but that bid depth is still chunky around 110k, so there's a real backstop. Draw stays pinned at 29% with a massive sell wall like both. Big tell here, the whale Netherlands long trims. Flick raw drops from 3.0 sm to 2.995 m, so the smart money's taking a little off the table. Price doesn't flinch yet at 0.44, 0.845 with bid depth rising, but that's classic protect the lead. We're seeing the book refill. Bid depth snaps back for all three outcomes, especially Netherlands up near 97k, and yet the prices barely move. That's a market saying no new information, just traders stepping back in to provide liquidity after the wobble.
Van der Ven hits top gear, and it's like someone's pressed fast forward, terrifying to chase. Somerville's got that street football balance, wriggling free, but Ito reads it and sweeps up neatly. Japan staying sharp under pressure. Van der Ven is pure jet fuel. Once he opens those legs, defenders look like they're running in sand. Somerville's teasing the fullback, trying to light the fuse for Dumfries, but Ito's there with the calm cleanup. Japan refusing to blink.
And just like that, liquidity fades again. Draw and Japan bid depth get cut in half. Netherlands back down near 68k, but the quotes stay glued. That's a nervous crowd. Everyone's watching the same 4.45 line like a back four holding shape, waiting.
IMO, quick one. Somerville's stock is flying despite West Ham going down. What kind of transfer fee market cap are we talking with a big World Cup and Endo missing for Japan? Does that change how you'd value their chances?
Yeah, that's classic relegation doesn't relegate talent pricing. One big World Cup is like a blowout earnings beat, and Somerville's fee can jump from mid-table money to 30-50 millers territory fast. Endo out is a hit to Japan's spine, so I'd share. Netherlands bid depth pops back up near 93k while draw and Japan stay well supported too, so buyers are still showing up on every dip. But with win probs basically unchanged and those giant ask stacks overhead, this is a stalemate. Lots of positioning, not much.
This carpet is pristine, proper billiard table stuff, the kind that makes first touches look like magic. And Frankie's strolling around like he owns the place, coolest man in the building. You love a player who treats a World Cup pitch like his back garden. It's like they've rolled out a green velvet runway in here. No bobbles, no excuses, just pure football. And Frankie? Ice in the veins, sunglasses, energy without the sunglasses. He's gliding around like the stadium's his living room.
That's a clean momentum swing. Netherlands ticks up to 0.46, 0.47, and bid depth surges to about 128k, while Japan's probability slips and their bid support thins out. Feels like the crowd's piling onto the favorite like a late-game press.
Marlon slides it into Gakpo, and suddenly the Dutch front line starts to sizzle. Little shimmy, quick feet, you can hear the defender's studs squeal. He just can't pull the trigger, but that was a warning flare, big time. This pitch is an absolute dream. No divots, no drama, just a perfect stage for the artists out there. And Frankie's the headline act, isn't he? So relaxed, he could be ordering room service, then bang, he's in the middle of everything.
Now you're seeing the favorites' price hold, but the bid depth under Netherlands drops back to the 82k. Some of that press is getting tired. Japan still offered heavy, so unless new buyers step in, this looks more like consolidation than a fresh break.
Yeah, Japan are in that tight little box, daring the Dutch to try the keyhole pass. Someone's got to punch a run in behind or it's traffic all day. Gakpo keeps squaring up Doan, but that last-ditch block was top-class defending, slammed the door shut.
Netherlands cools a tick to 0.45, 0.46, but the bid depth rebounds over 108k. Buyers are still defending the line. Japan and the draw both firm up in depth too, so this feels like a reset between attacks, not a full momentum reversal.
Japan are sat in that compact shell, and the Netherlands are knocking with no one making the sprint to the back door. Give me a midfield runner, give me a decoy, anything. Gakpo keeps trying Doan, but Watanabe reads it like a comic book and snuffs it out again. It's like Japan have parked a little blue wall in the middle. Netherlands can pass it around all night, but without a runner, it's just shadow boxing. Gakpo's probing Doan again, finds a sniff of space, and Watanabe just snaps it shut. Brilliant timing.
Oof. Netherlands bid depth just got cut nearly in half to about 60k while price hasn't moved, and that's classic support quietly walking away. Japan's bid depth also thins, so liquidity's drying up across the board. One decent sell order could slip. We've got a little reliquefaction. Netherlands bid depth bounces back to 85k, but the bigger tell is Japan's bid depth jumping to nearly 59k, while their price stays pinned at 0.25, 0.26. That's the underdog. Draw just got a little love. Bid ask steps up to 0.29, 0.30, and bid depth jumps to Y67k. So traders are hedging the stalemate scenario. But look at those massive ask walls across all three outcomes. It's like parking the bus. Upside moves will need real conviction to... Draw bid depth keeps climbing now, 71k, so the market's leaning into this stays tight, even with prices basically unchanged. Meanwhile, Netherlands and Japan both see ask depth swell north of 1 Muller and 727.
Hydration break indoors feels like a mandated market halt, kills momentum. Quick take, do these forced pauses help underdogs like Japan manage risk and wait for Dutch mistakes like defensive investing?
Absolutely. Those stoppages are like a volatility auction. They reset tempo and let the underdog reorganize without paying the price of constant pressure. In the book, that shows up as thicker draw are Japan support and fewer panic chases. Netherlands has to earn... Now that's a statement. Netherlands bid depth just rockets to 197k while the price stays 5 gold, 4-6. Someone's building a real defensive wall under the favorite. But with Wildauer's $1 of asks still sitting...
Hydration break indoors, only in modern football, eh? Owen, like stopping a chess match so the pieces can have a sip. Kubo's been starved of oxygen so far, but Japan won't mind that one bit. They'll wait, and then pounce the moment the Dutch blink. Another pause for a drink in an air-conditioned stadium feels like calling a timeout in a library. Kubo's been kept on a tight leash, but don't be fooled. One little pocket of space after the restart, and he can light this match up in a flash. Here we go again with the indoor hydration break. Might as well hand out umbrellas while we're at it. Kubo's been a ghost so far, but that's exactly how Japan like it. Quiet, compact, and then bang. One moment and they're in behind.
Netherlands support is holding near 198K on the bid. Big Money's basically saying we're not letting this drift. But draw liquidity is creeping up too, and with those chunky ask stacks, this still trades like a KG00 until someone forces a break.
That's the mindset of a team chasing a trophy. Keep knocking on the door until it cracks. Practice is the training ground, but the real power is the courage to keep asking the question when your legs are screaming and then proving it under the lights. IMO, Bank of America slogan just dropped, a power to do, and the fan says, play for the ultras. Give me the market spin. Brands buying passion or passion buying brands?
It's both, Leo. Brands are renting emotion and fans are paying attention with their wallets like it's a subscription. When the match is tight, that ultra's energy is pure momentum trade. Great upside if it hits, but it fades fast if the story breaks.
That's the sponsor reel rolling, but the message fits the pitch. Greatness is built in the boring mornings, not the flashy nights. Quaker fuel in the tank, and suddenly those late runs and second balls look a little sharper when the legs are heavy.
The Netherlands bid depth just surged to 218K. Someone's leaning hard on the favorite like a team parking the bus in their own half, daring the market to push them off. 45. Japan's bid depth also firmed, so the underdog is
Delivery for Kaká. Oh, that's like handing a painter a fresh canvas. You just know something beautiful could happen. 5 stars back at you because if he's got space to turn, the stadium's about to hold its breath. IMO? They keep saying delivery and 5 stars. Feels like ratings and logistics talk. Tie it to markets for a quick punchline while Kaka's name's in the air.
Yeah, Leo. Delivery and 5 stars is basically guidance and reviews. The market doesn't pay for promises, it pays for execution. Kaka's the perfect comp. Beautiful highlights, but investors still want the full 90 minutes, not a flashy first touch. Japan's bid depth just spiked to 78K. That's the underdog getting real backing, not just vibes, even while price stays stuck at 0.25, 0.26. Netherlands support eased a touch, so this is starting to look like a midfield scrap where no big air pocket in liquidity. Netherlands bid depth just got cut in half to 110K and Japan's down to 42K, so the book's suddenly a lot thinner. Prices haven't moved yet, but this is like a defense stepping up. One shove and you can get a fast, messy break either.
We're back underway and Japan wastes no time. Quick throw, sharp movement. They're trying to snap the rhythm right back into place. You can sense they want to turn this restart into a little ambush down the line. Hydration break done, and Japan restart with the throw. No messing about. They're looking to steal a few yards and catch everyone napping. Watch the tempo here. These little moments can spark a surge out of nowhere. And we're rolling again after the drinks. Japan with the throw, trying to inject a bit of zip straight away. You can almost hear the bench shouting for a quick 1-2 because this is where concentration slips and chances appear.
Now it's officially a thin book. Netherlands bid depth collapsing to 29K while the price ticks down to 0.44, 0.45 tells you the buyers stepped off the pitch. Draw nudging up to 31% is that nobody wants to commit vibe, and in this kind
Coleman's relieved Verbrugge is fit. Big blue chip stability at the back. Any quick take on how a keeper's fitness changes a team's risk profile, like markets reacting to a key CEO staying in post?
Exactly. Your keeper is the volatility dampener, like a trusted CEO. Fewer tail risk blowups, tighter spreads, calmer positioning. When that anchor's healthy, the market prices fewer howler scenarios, and you see less panic hedging into the draw.
Japan going long into a towering Dutch backline feels like a bad trade against the matchup. Any quick market style take on why teams abandon their edge and start punting it?
Totally. When teams start punting, it's like traders chasing price after missing the entry. Emotion over edge. Fatigue and scoreboard pressure make them reach for one big candle instead of grinding high probability setups, and the matchup just eats it up.
Kumar hangs it in, but Van der Ven just eats that up. No panic, no fuss, and then Gakpo sweeps them upfield in a flash. Japan going aerial feels like bringing a knife to a skyscraper fight. With that Dutch backline towering, they've got to get it down and dance.
Japan's win prob slips to 25% even as their bid depth jumps to 50K. Buyers are stepping in, but they're not getting paid with price yet. Netherlands stays heavy on the offer side, so upside looks capped unless that big Dutch long crowd starts defending their line.
Doan's over there trying to make something stick, and you can feel the Dutch wanting to pounce on any loose touch. Oh, come on, indeed. Someone's just got away with one there, and the crowd's not having it. IMO, that oh come on moment reeks of a dodgy call, like a market moving on a whisper. Give us your take. Is this ref volatility or just noise?
Yeah, that's classic headline risk. One whistle and the whole tape flinches. If it's a one-off, it's noise. If you see a pattern of soft calls, that's ref volatility, and traders start pricing the penalty premium fast.
IMO, that oh come on moment looked like a borderline call out wide with Doan involved. Give us your take. Is that the kind of decision that swings momentum like a sudden market shock?
Absolutely. Those borderline wide calls are like a surprise CPI print. Not a goal, but it flips positioning and tempo instantly. Even if it's technically fine, the emotional slippage is real, and that's when mistakes and counters show up.
Van Hecke climbs and clears with that effortless authority. Honestly, the Dutch center backs are running this airspace like it's their private property. Nakamura shapes to go, but that split-second delay kills it, and Ito snatches at it over the bar, and that's a
Big change here. Draw and Japan bid depth just thinned out hard, so liquidity's pulled back and any real order can move price like a fast counterattack. Netherlands still has the sturdier bid stack at 76k, but with these giant ask walls overhead.
Gakpo hugging that left touchline, and you can feel the danger building. He's just waiting to pounce. Van der Ven glides it across, and when Van Dijk gets a look at the pitch, it's like the Dutch are setting the chessboard for the next strike. Gakpo's parked out on that left again, stretching Japan like elastic. One slip and he's in. Van der Ven rolls it on, and with Van Dijk in command, the Dutch look so calm it's almost cheeky. Gakpo's still lurking on that left flank, waving for it like he can smell blood. Van der Ven keeps it ticking, and Van Dijk just oozes control when he's on the ball. Everyone else looks like they're playing at half speed. Young's been metronomic out there, safe as houses. You'd trust him with your car keys, and now Gakpo hangs one up to the far side for Dumfries, arriving like a freight train. But if he gets clean contact, that's trouble.
Draw just firmed up to 0.31, 0.32 with bid depth jumping to lot 72k. Markets pricing a tighter game, more nil-nil energy. Netherlands still leads at 44%, but look at that 1.07 now, ask depth overhead. Plenty of sellers ready to clear it, so rallies may get...
He climbs and wins it, but that's the fine margin. At the back post, you've got to steer it back across goal, and he just can't wrap his neck around it. And tell you what, with service like that coming in, Japan will be praying those back post raids don't start landing.
Japan just slipped a tick to 0.24, 0.25, momentum fading, and the bid depth is light, so it wouldn't take much to push them lower. Netherlands nudges up to 45% with 0.44, 0.45, but that draw staying firm, 80.31.
Marlon will still be seeing that one. Suzuki pulled out a save that belonged in a highlight reel, and now the refs become an accidental wall, so we've got a stoppage. Always a weird little speed bump when the tempo's building.
Not much price movement, but Japan's probability ticking down to 25%, while their ask depth swells is classic sellers leaning on the tape. Draw stays stubborn at 0.31, 0.32, so the market's basically parking the bus, waiting for one.
$14 to go in its orange possession, but Japan are basically saying, Habit will take the space away. That block is so tight you could barely slide a postcard through it. Netherlands need a spark because there's no air to breathe in there.
Now we've got real support showing up. Bid depth jumps across the board, especially Netherlands up to 115k, even though the price ticks back to 0.43, 0.44. That's like the crowd getting loud after a shaky touch. Buyers are defending. Japan pops back to 0.25, 0.26, and 26%. That's a little counterpunch, and the bid depth looks healthier too. Netherlands holds 0.43, 0.44, but the support cooled from that last surge, so this is starting to feel like a...
Yeah, if you can trade punches with Spain and still be standing after 120 minutes, you've got serious pedigree, no doubt. But right now, Japan are snapping into every lane. Taniguchi's header is a lifeline, and the Dutch midfield win it, then cough it up again. Can't.
Big tell here. Draw and Japan bid depth just evaporated, 20K and 11K, so liquidity's thin and any headline or goal chance can gap these prices. Netherlands edges back to 45%, AT 0.4445, but it's a...
They're swarming Gakpo, 2 shirts every time, Kubo doing the dirty work, and it's really choking that outlet. Diu and Simons try to wriggle free, and now Dumfries gets it. You just feel the crowd leaning forward, waiting for that one explosive run down the line. Suzuki's making save after save. Absolute value stock in goal right now. Van Dijk nearly cashes in on the set piece, and the Dutch are piling on. Feels like momentum's spiking like a breakout chart.
Totally. Suzuki's basically the circuit breaker, keeping Japan's price from free falling while the Dutch press ramps up. But when a keeper's standing on his head, that's also when the draw trade gets sneaky strong. One rebound and the whole tape flips. Draw just firmed up to 0.32, 0.33 with bid depth rebuilding. Markets hedging the Dutch pressure into a still 0-0 outcome. Japan slips back to 24% and can't lift the offer, so sentiment's tilting defensive. Survive first.
Van Dijk's been all over Ueda like a shadow, and Japan's striker has barely had a sniff, quiet as a library up there. Meanwhile, it's Marlon again and again for the Dutch, and you're right, that's the guy you want on the end of it. But Suzuki's turning into a brick wall tonight.
Netherlands is getting marked up 0.45, 0.46 now, while Japan leaks to 0.23, 0.94, so the tape's rewarding the favorites' pressure. But look at that Japan-esque wall ballooning to Taij 909K. That's a parked bus of...
Gakpo on his 50th cap, plenty of touches, but he's being double-teamed like he owes Japan money. And Memphis sitting there with that 55-goal crown, what a stat in a country of Van Bastens and Bergkamps. You can almost hear the bench whispering, "Put me in, coach."
Netherlands cools a touch back to 44%, and the draw holds 0.32, 0.33. This is the market saying pressure, yes, finish, not yet. With bid depth staying healthy on Japan and draw, traders are basically playing for a stubborn defensive stand and a late swing.
That's a gorgeous, wicked free kick hung up like a tempting dessert at the back post. And then bang, a defender throws himself in front of it. Proper take one for the team stuff, like you feel that in the ribs tomorrow morning. Netherlands have got the grip right now, and Watanabe's got to stay on a tightrope with those runs. And you mentioned that Argentina game, 18 yellows, that was less a match and more a traffic jam of bookings. Imo, that Netherlands-Argentina game with 18 yellows was pure chaos, like a market circuit breaker. From your angle, what does that kind of volatility do to a team's decision-making and risk appetite in-game?
Yeah, that's volatility tax in real time. Once the ref starts flashing cards, everyone widens their spread and stops making marginal tackles. Teams go from high press to capital preservation, and the smart side hunts set pieces like safe haven trades.
The Dutch are on top here, no doubt, and Watanabe's got to time those sprints like a Swiss watch or he'll get punished. And that Argentina clash with 18 yellows, honestly, the ref needed a spare notebook. It was chaos in a whistle.
We're basically range-bound. Netherlands steady 88.44, 0.45, and the draw glued to 0.32, 0.33, so nobody's pressing the buy button aggressively. The tell is Japan's ask depth easing from the peak, less panic selling. Draw bids just got juiced. Depth up to 5. Yeah, to 80k. So the market's quietly hedging for a stalemate while prices barely move. Meanwhile, Netherlands' ask stack swells over 1.1. That's supply overhead like defenders crowding the box. Upside. I'm with you. Let them play is great until it turns into hidden leverage and one nasty tackle blows up the whole book. Early whistles are like margin calls, unpopular, but they stop the late game cascade. Liquidity just snapped back, draw bid depth rockets to 81k and Japan to 45k, so that earlier air pocket got bought up fast. Prices barely budge though, which screams positioning, not conviction, with Netherlands still capped by a big wall of offers over.
Yeah, Dumfries is sniffing it a bit early. His magic is that late thunderbolt run when defenders have already switched off. If he holds that half second longer, Somerville can square up 1v1 and suddenly the right side explodes into life.
Netherlands is the only side showing real backbone. Bid depth jumps to 113k while price holds 0.444045, so dips are getting met with buyers. But with nearly a million sitting on the offer, it's still a grind-up game, not a...
Nakamura's done his homework there, stays on his feet, times it perfectly, and just slams the door shut. That's the kind of defending that frustrates wingers and fires up a whole back line. It's a sea of tangerine out there. Everywhere you look, there's an orange shirt snapping into space and squeezing the air out of Japan's buildup. That's the Dutch press when it's humming, like a net tightening around you.
Japan's book just got a lot healthier. Bid depth up to 54k while the ask stack drops under 800k, so the underdog is getting some real two-way trade. Netherlands still leads on price, but that offer wall thickened again, so upside needs a catalyst, not just hope. Now we've got a classic risk on, but with less cushion setup. Bid depth just thinned across all three outcomes, even as the sell walls also stepped down. That means the next headline or on-field moment can swing prices quicker, like a match opening up when both midfields get tired.
IMO, the Dutch are dominating possession like a blue-chip stock, steady, controlled, squeezing Japan out. Also, those Japan kits are absolute collector's items. What's your buy on classic football shirts as an investment?
Totally. Netherlands looks like the index heavyweight just grinding the clock and starving the underdog of touches. On shirts, the blue chip trade is iconic players plus limited runs in pristine condition. Most others are like penny stock. Buyers just rushed back into the draw. Bid depth nearly doubled to 87k, so the market's hedging like it's bracing for a late equalizer. Netherlands stays the favorite on price, but with big offer stacks still looming, this feels like a tight 1-0 where one bounce flips the script.
Japan's sitting deep like a defensive stock, low risk, low yield, while the Dutch dominate possession. Any thoughts on when waiting for the counter stops being value and becomes a trap?
Yep. Parking the bus works until the market starts charging you carry. Time decay, fatigue, and one conceded chance blows the whole thesis. When the bid support keeps thinning and you're relying on a single counter, that's not value, that's a lottery ticket.
Japan are sitting in that low block like a coiled spring, inviting the orange wave on, but one clean touch from Maeda and suddenly it's a foot race the other way. Nakamura's got to be brave here because this next moment is either relief or real danger. Ah, that's the moment, isn't it? He wriggles free and then the final ball just dies on him and the Dutch breathe again. But you're spot on. If Japan start that break from their own postcode every time, it's a marathon, not a counter.
Draw is still getting respect at 0.33, 0.34, but the bid depth is fading, down to about 66k, so that support's a bit flimsy if pressure ramps. Netherlands holds 0.43, 0.44 with solid depth, and Japan's book looks thin.
IMO, Dutch have 61% possession and total control, but need more runners. Feels like a blue chip stock consolidating before a breakout. Give us your market style take. When do you press for growth versus protect the lead?
Totally. Possession without shots is like revenue without margins. Looks pretty, doesn't pay. You press for growth when the bid keeps stepping up and offers start getting lifted. You protect when liquidity thins and the draw bid firms like a late game hedge.
Gakpo's owning that sky like he's paid rent up there. Japan can't buy an aerial duel right now. Koeman will love the control, but you feel the next gear is the runners in behind just to turn possession into panic. Halftime panels stacked too. Should be lively. Gakpo again. He's turning every long ball into a Dutch throw-in at the buffet. Japan just can't shift him in the air. Koeman's got the steering wheel, but he'll want someone to hit the accelerator and make those runs count before the break. So what? So it's a warning sign. When players start glancing at the clock, the game can bite you in the ankle. One sleepy moment, and the Netherlands will pounce like they've smelled blood in the water. That's the first real spark. Nakamura arriving like a late train into the box, and suddenly the Dutch backline feels a little drafty. He's dragged it wide, but that's the pattern they've been begging for. Wing-back surge, bodies in the area, and a proper scare.
All right, buyers just rush back in. Netherlands bid depth snaps from 26K to 108K without the price moving, which screams defense set at SWI 42 0.43. Draw and Japan depth also rebuilds, so it's a three-way.
He's tried to whip it with the wrong foot, brave, but it never had the venom. Gruden's watching it all the way, hands ready like a man catching a Sunday newspaper. Another swing on the weaker right. He's forcing it, and the keeper's loving it. Gruden's got it measured like a stock chart in a calm market. No spike, no panic, just routine.
And just like that, the Dutch bid wall is rebuilt. Netherlands still 0.40, 0.41, but depth jumps back above 107K, so buyers are defending that line. Draw nudges up to 0.35 to 0.36 with chunky depth too, which tells you the market's pricing a grind, not a run.
Oof, that pass had a bit of sugar in it, sweet enough to open them up, and suddenly Iwana's staring at goal. He slapped the side netting, but that's a warning siren. Japan are finding gaps, and he's the kind who usually cashes in. That is a peach of a pass, just slices them like a hot knife, and the runner's sniffing blood, even if Verbruggen looks set. Japan are settling into that smash and grab rhythm, calm as you like, and suddenly the stadium's holding its breath.
We're seeing the support get lighter again. Netherlands depth slips to 74K, and the draw's bid depth drops hard too, so conviction is thinning even if prices look steady. That's like a team passing it around the back, safe on the surface, but one bad touch and the...
Someone get him those candies because that pass nearly woke the whole game up. Iwana's first real look, and he's kissed the side netting. Still, they were wide open there, and you just know he can finish if they gift him another. He's begging for fireworks, and that little pass almost lit the fuse. Iwana's flashed it into the side netting, but the defense was split. Give him that sight again, and he'll make the keeper pay, no doubt. He's overcooked it to Gakpo. Mark it down, frame it. That might be the one blemish all night. De Jong plays like he's got a different metronome in his head, always half a beat ahead of everyone else.
Draw is getting a real bid now, up to 0.36, 0.37, and win probably 37%. That's the market leaning into a cagey 90 minutes. Japan's bid depth collapsing to 24K says fewer believers on that side, while Netherlands pops back to 0.40, 0.41, but without big...
Kubo's little touch sets the tempo. Ueda goes down, but the ref's having none of it. Play on. Then suddenly it snaps into life. Somerville sharp as a razor, and now the whistle goes. Dangerous moment. This set piece could bite. Kubo nudges it on. Ueda tumbles, but the ref waves it away. No sympathy there. Then Reinders and Somerville zip it with real bite, and finally the whistle comes. Free kick in a tasty area. Everyone's on edge now. Kubo with the little flick. Ueda hits the deck, and the referee says, "Get up, son." Then it's Reinders into Somerville. Quick feet, quick mind, and now the free kick's given, and you can feel the crowd lean forward. Yes, I'm in. If the door's open and the game's on, that's a transfer I'm signing immediately. I'll slide in like a late runner at the back post, and we'll see if this match gives us a Miller time winner. Where's the best seat?
Netherlands support just got louder. Bid depth jumps over 400k and that 0.40 top bid swells to tell 494k shares. Classic favorite defended tape. Meanwhile, Japan's 0.23 ask stack is huge, so upside for Japan is getting boxed in like a team pinned in.
Oh, that's the lifeline, isn't it? When the signal's strong, the whole team plays on one heartbeat. Nothing worse than a stream buffering right as the shot's flying in. Give me that rock-solid connection and we're cooking. IMO would call that reliable infrastructure.
Japan's win prob ticks down to 22%, while Netherlands keeps that 0.40 bid wall growing, now north of 500k shares. So the market's leaning harder into the favorite without paying up yet. Feels like sustained pressure in the final third. If that wall holds, shorts get... Netherlands win prob slips a hair to 40%, but the bid wall AT040 keeps thickening, over 507k shares. So the tape says dip buyers still in control. Draw asks just got lighter though, which hints the market's hedging for a stalemate if this stays scoreless.
They're talking Norway as a dark horse and bonus bets per goal. Can you riff on the in loud we trust angle like a market rally momentum risk reward?
Yeah, that's pure crowd trade energy. Norway becomes the meme stock the moment they score early and everyone piles in chasing the next candle. Bonus per goal is like leverage. Great when momentum's with you, brutal when the match turns cagey.
IMO, they're hyping bonus bets per goal. What's your take on how promos like that juice engagement and risk? Also, Norway as a dark horse feels like value versus hype, yeah?
Totally. Those per goal promos are like turning the volume knob up on retail flow. More clicks, more chasing, and wider emotional swings when the scoreboard moves. Norway's the classic value until it's hype trade, great price early. That Netherlands bid wall just leveled up. 0.40 is now nearly 558k shares, and total bid depth pops to about 427k, so buyers are planting a flag. Japan's still capped 8023 with heavy offers, so it's Netherlands pressure versus a stubborn. Netherlands is still the market's captain. 0.40 bid holds with about 547k shares, but the draw side just got a lot heavier on the offer, so traders are buying insurance. That's classic 0-0 anxiety. Everyone loves the favorite until the clock starts winning. We're seeing a little cooling in Netherlands, win prob back to 40%, and bid depth slips, but that 0.40 line is still a brick wall with 556k shares. Draw liquidity just eased too, so sentiment's stabilizing like a team slowing the tempo to protect a lead. The Netherlands support just thinned. Top bid 0.40 drops to about 505k shares, and total bid depth slides under 400k, so the home crowd is getting a little quieter. Price hasn't cracked, but if that wall keeps eroding, you can see a quick dip like a defense finally. Whoa, Netherlands just got a fresh injection of confidence. Bid depth rockets to about 643k, and that 0.40 wall swells to 764k shares, so buyers are back pressing high. Meanwhile, Japan's 0.23
0-0, but don't let that fool you. Holland have had Japan pinned back like a corner flag in a gale, and Suzuki's been an absolute brick wall. Now Japan have started to peek out of that low block, and you can feel the stadium holding its breath. One burst of pace and this...
Netherlands bid wall just exploded. 0.40 now over 1.0 M shares, and bid depth A717k, while Japan's 0.23 ask stack stays huge. Can you frame this like momentum pressure in a match, favorite pinning opponent back but still facing a packed defense?
Absolutely, Amo. That's Holland camped in the final third, wave after wave, and the crowd can feel the squeeze as that bid wall swells. But that big ask stack is Japan's low block. Bodies everywhere, lanes shut, and you still need one clean break to make it...
Netherlands buyers are doubling down. Bid depth up to about 732k, and that 0.40 support is now over 1.06 million shares, so the favorite's got a real defensive line in front of it. Only wrinkle is win prob ticking to 40%, so price isn't falling.
That's a proper powerhouse of an ad, like rolling on a center back built out of granite just keeps coming. If your truck's got 0% APR stamina and A1 or 30-day breather, that's squad depth for the long tournament grind. That GMC Sierra spot is pure professional grade energy, like a fullback who never loses.
Absolutely. VAR is the
VAR has ripped the net right off the moment. Goal chalked off, and you can feel the temperature spike in the stands. And honestly, with the way they're flying into challenges, the referee's got to grab this game by the collar before it runs wild.
Netherlands is still the ball-dominant side here, bid depth holding around 737k, with that 0.40 support still north of 1.06 M shares, and win odds nudging back to 41%. Japan's 0.23. Netherlands stays propped up with that 0.40 bid, still basically a million shares, but the more interesting move is Japan's sell side swelling to 1.2 M. Someone's parking the bus on any Japan rally. That kind of lopsided liquidity.
VAR overturned, market analogy, big move gets reviewed and wiped, momentum snaps back like a rally rejected at resistance. Crowd furious, players rattled, and now discipline matters. The clock's melting away here, 5-4 to 3, and you can feel the panic creeping into every touch. They've had their chance, and now it's that dangerous moment where one rash decision can turn a match into a mess. Time slipping through their fingers, 5, 4, 3, and nobody's listening out there. It's chaos in boots. They've already burned their big chance, and if they force it now, it's begging for a counterpunch.
Netherlands is still the clear favorite on the tape, 41%, with that 0.40 bid stack holding like a back four under pressure. But draw odds just tick down to 36%, and Japan's ask depth keeps ballooning, so the market's basically saying no comeback rally today.
That Toyota line about resale value is like a team with a rock-solid back four. Steady, reliable, and it holds up over time. Low APR on Tacoma or Tundra, that's a clean, efficient deal. Let's go places feels like a quick counterattack waiting to happen. 3 minutes and it's all noise and nerves. Nobody hearing the call, everyone trying to be the hero. They've already had their one golden look, and if they gamble again, it's like leaving the back door wide open in stoppage time. That's a partnership pitch with real title sponsor energy. Steady support behind the scenes so the big nights can actually happen. IMO, you love this stuff. Community backing and dependable coverage, that's the kind of stability that keeps the whole operation from wobbling.
That Dutch bid keeps leaking, down to about 667k, with the 0.40 wall no longer growing, so the favorite's still ahead on odds, but losing some midfield control. Meanwhile, draw ask depth is creeping higher, which screams late-game stalemate hedging from the crowd.
That's a cracking bit of marketing. Fans are the ultimate stress test. They'll push anything to the red line like it's stoppage time. Tested and trusted by the toughest sounds like a squad that's been through away days in the rain and still comes out swinging. IMO, that Care First partnership spiel is all about stability and community investment. How do you read that from a brand value angle, like a blue chip sponsor keeping the whole event machine running?
Yeah, it's the blue chip sponsor vibe. Less about flash, more about lowering event risk and keeping the lights on when the crowd mood swings. From a value angle, that kind of steady backing is like defensive cash flow. It won't win highlights, but it keeps the tournament from getting relegated. Draw liquidity just got a lot more real with the top bid now sitting at 0.36. Buyers are stepping up instead of hiding at a penny. Netherlands stays for 1% with that 0.40 wall intact, but this feels like a match tightening up. More draw bid depth slips back a touch, but that 0.36 bid is still planted. Someone's parking the bus and daring the market to break it. Netherlands liquidity keeps softening around the edges, so the favorite's lead is more possession than shots on target right.
IMO Nissan throwing 0% APR in a 20,000 $800 Sentra. How big is that in today's rate environment, and what does it signal about demand and margins?
That's a loud demand signal in a high-rate world. 0% APR is basically Nissan paying the interest bill to keep the ball moving off the lot. Great for unit volume optics, but it usually means margin pressure and heavier incentive spend under the hood. We've got fresh draw interest, 100k lifted around 0.37, while the draw ask depth is thinning, so that market's getting more tradable. Netherlands still has the big 0.40 bid like a captain holding the line, but momentum's drifting toward a tighter, lower scoring script.
That's the World Cup in a nutshell. Cultures colliding like midfielders in a 50-50, and out comes something brand new and electric. 48 nations, one ball, and suddenly the whole planet's singing the same chorus. This is football's greatest remix.
Draw bid depth is creeping up, and that 0.36 line just got thicker. 308k shares now, so the market's bracing for a stalemate. Netherlands still looks like the favorite on paper, but with ask walls heavy up top, it's more grind than breakout.
That's perfect watch party chaos, extra time on the clock, and suddenly the snack bench needs fresh legs. Walmart Express flying in supplies like a late substitute, but yeah, if only they could deliver a keeper with hands like glue.
Japan's ask depth just got shaved hard, down under 1 million, so the downside supply is easing even though price hasn't budged. With Netherlands still glued to that 0.40 size or 0.41, this feels like a midfield stalemate. Lots of structure. Big tell here, draw support at 0.36 basically vanished, and the top bid fell all the way to 0.01. Someone yanked the bids like a keeper faking an injury to kill momentum. Netherlands bid depth also got clipped, so near-term sentiment is wobblier.
Blimey, that's a proper mixed bag. Dentist nerves, bundling insurance, then IBM talking data like it's a transfer window that never closes, and now a pharma ad barges in like a crunching tackle from nowhere. IMO, mate, even your markets aren't.
That draw book is screaming air pocket. Headline bid, ask still shows 0.36, 0.37, but the real size is sitting down at 0.01, so one shove and it slips. Japan's win prob ticking down to 22%. Draw bid depth keeps bleeding, down to about 153k, and the real top size is still parked at 0.01, so that 0.36 looks more like a signpost than a wall. Netherlands bids actually firm to touch, so if anything breaks,
I can't help promote or endorse prescription meds like that, but I'll say this, if you're hearing those warnings, take them seriously and talk to your doctor. Now, can we get back to the football before the ad break puts us in stoppage time?
Not much price movement, but the microstructure is still shaky. Draw best bid says 0.36, while the real crowd is camped at 0.01, so that support can disappear in a heartbeat. Netherlands remains the only book with real We're seeing a tiny drift away from the draw in Japan, 36% and 22%, but prices are pinned, which tells you this is positioning, not conviction. Netherlands still has the thickest bid stack, 0.40, like a team parking the bus with the ball. Hard to break, but one shock has Now that's a real liquidity drain. Draw bid depth just fell to about 128k and Japan's to 86k, so the underdog and stalemate books are getting pulled like fans heading for the exits early. Netherlands still has the only sturdy bid wall, 80.40.
We're back in Dallas, and you can feel it. Holland have had all the ball, but it's been possession with the handbrake on. Japan are sitting in that low block like a well-run index fund, disciplined and unbothered. The Dutch need one sharp run to turn this from... That's the whole game right there. One player arriving at the perfect moment like a striker sniffing out a rebound in a crowded box. You don't need 10 chances, you need one clean touch in the right place and the stadium erupts.
Leo, liquidity just evaporated across draw in Japan, bid depth collapsing while prices barely move. Feels like a stadium hush before a big chance. If a goal VAR moment hits, this market could gap hard. Can you frame that momentum crowd psychology?
Spot on, Amo. This is that eerie hush where everyone's holding their breath and the next touch decides the mood. Japan's block is draining the tempo, but one VAR flash or a deflection and the whole place gaps from calm to chaos instantly. Second half set up beautifully. Both sides can score for fun, but right now the defenders are writing the script and the forwards are stuck reading it. One goal here doesn't just win a match, it clears the path in the group like opening a fast lane on the highway.
Leo, liquidity just fell off a cliff across all three outcomes. Bids basically evaporated and top bid levels are back to 0.01. Can you frame this like a stadium going silent before a big moment, and what in-game momentum shift could cause that?
Absolutely, Amo. This is the stadium going pin drop silent. Everyone frozen because they sense the next moment will be seismic. One sudden press, a turnover at the edge of the box, or a VAR check and bang. Momentum flips and the whole game gaps in a heartbeat.
We just saw a brief liquidity blackout, and now bids are trickling back, but notice where they're coming in. Still that ugly Bod 01 camping, not real conviction at the touch. This is a nervous stadium. One big trade and you'll get a gap like a... That's a clean uptick in pricing. Netherlands bid up to 2.41 and the draw 2.37. Yet bid depth is collapsing, so it's more price on air than real demand. Japan slipping 0.21, 0.22 feels like the market fading them late.
Now we've got liftoff from the Dutch. Somerville finally finds a runway and suddenly Japan's back line is backpedaling, but look at those blue shirts swarming like bees, snapping the middle shut. Netherlands have to keep it wide and make that space scream.
Draw is quietly gaining ground, up to 0.38, 0.39 with bid depth rebounding. So the market's hedging the stalemate script, even as Netherlands stays the favorite 8.441.42. But look at those massive 0.99 asks. It's a C.
That's the spark they needed. Somerville darts in behind, and for a second, Japan look human. But the blue wall crowds the middle like rush hour traffic. The Dutch have to keep stretching it wide and hit that cutback with venom. Oof, that ball just skids across the 6-yard box like it's begging for a tap-in, and nobody in orange answers the door. That's the cue. One midfielder has to gamble and crash the box because Japan can't mark shadows forever.
Netherlands is still holding the lead on price 0.41, 0.42, but the real tell is bid depth jumping to about 100K. Someone's finally stepping in with actual support, not just those 0.01 hope bids. Draw cool to touch. Japan.
That cross is pure danger, zips across the face, and it's screaming for someone to throw a boot at it. Netherlands are knocking, but you can't score with polite visits. A midfielder has to burst in like a late train and cause chaos. Japan have to wake up going forward now, get runners closer to the striker and stop leaving him on an island. One clean break and the whole stadium mood flips because the Dutch are starting to smell blood here.
Netherlands just gave back a tick, 2.40 out of 0.41. Even while bid depth stays strong, classic price dips, buyers still in the stands, so it looks more like profit taking than panic. Draw and Japan both firming on depth too, which screams tighter match and more.
Exactly. Japan can't wait till the last 5 minutes to pull the trigger again. They need bodies joining the front man, quicker support, quicker shots, otherwise the Dutch pressure just keeps rolling like a tide.
Netherlands probability just slipped to 40% even though bid depth surged to 124K. So buyers are defending the line, but they're not pushing upfield on price. Meanwhile, draw asks ballooned over 1.07M. That's a wall of supply that can keep this match stuck.
Imo. Dutch bench is stacked. Depay, Lang, big target man. Feels like a manager's portfolio diversification moment. How do you see subs as risk management when momentum's shifting?
Spot on, Leo. Subs are basically a rebalance. You rotate into higher volatility attackers when the market's going sideways, or you bring on a destroyer to protect the lead like buying downside hedges. With this kind of supply overhead, big liquidity air pocket just opened. Draw bid depth collapsed to 25K and Japan to basically nothing, so any decent market order can shove prices around. Netherlands still priced on top, 0.41, 0.42, but with thin bids.
De Jong just purring on the ball and Van Dijk stands there like a lighthouse. Nothing gets past without permission. With those Liverpool lads in the spine, Netherlands look so composed and Gakpo's got that little spark like he's about to light the fuse. De Jong's dictating the tempo like a conductor and Van Dijk's the bouncer at the back, no nonsense allowed. Those Liverpool connections give the Dutch a real rhythm and you can feel Gakpo itching to turn possession into something sharp. Winder stands over it, big bodies piling in, Van Dijk and Van Hecke sniffing blood in the 6-yard box, but it's a wasted delivery straight into the first defender, and Doan redeems himself with a block that takes the sting right out of it.
Massive momentum swing. Netherlands implied jumps to 76%, 0.75, 0.76, while Japan collapses to 6% and draw to 0.17. Bang! Goal is the earnings beat, and the market will gap higher before anyone can refresh their screen. Netherlands should sprint toward the 0.90s on pure momentum, and Japan's book turns into a Hail Mary trade from here.
Spot on. Stadium's gone full orange wave. Every Dutch touch gets a roar. Japan look pinned.
Absolutely. Once the crowd flips, it's like a breakout above resistance. Sellers vanish and everyone chases the tape. And with a center back finishing like that, Japan's confidence is the real liquidity that just dried up. Absolutely, Leo. This is crowd momentum turning into price momentum. Netherlands has ripped up to 0.75, 0.76, while Japan's down at 0.05, 0.06. That's basically a rout on the tape. Yep, that's the catalyst candle. One dangerous chance and everyone hits the buy button at once because nobody wants to be the last defender chasing the breakaway. With Japan looking rattled, the risk now is a quick second goal that turns this from a rally. Exactly. When the script flips, you don't marry the position, you manage it. If you're long Netherlands, you can trim into the spike and keep a runner. And if you're fading, you hedge fast because momentum here is like a counterattack. Brutal.
You've nailed it. This is exactly the kind of market spike moment. One clean delivery, one ruthless finish, and the whole stadium tilts orange. Gravenberch had time to paint that cross, and Van Dijk just steers it like a blue chip stock. No panic, pure.
Yep, that's the catalyst the order book was hinting at. Now it's risk on for Netherlands and pure damage control for Japan. Second balls are like after-hours prints. Once you're late, you're paying up and chasing shadows.
That was the goal penalty moment you felt. Gravenberch had time, whips a perfect cross, and Van Dijk just glides it back across the keeper like he's cashing a blue chip dividend. Crowd flips instantly. Van Dijk again doing Van Dijk things. He doesn't smash it, he signs it. Japan have to rip up the script now because in the air, the Dutch are like skyscrapers in a street fight, and that delivery was pure velvet. One lapse, one perfect run, and bang.
Not much changed on price, but the Netherlands bid depth just thickened, 200K now, so the market's basically parking the bus at 0.74.75. Draw and Japan still have flimsy bids, so any Japan push is more likely a quick wick.
That's the danger, Amo. Give them a sec. You called it, I'll give you that. No pressure on the ball, and the Dutch will punish you like clockwork. And here goes Van der Ven charging out like he's late for a flight, all power and pace. Japan have to step up and put a body on him, or it's trouble again. Absolutely. If you just sit there, you're basically handing the Dutch a comfy armchair and a cup of tea in midfield. Japan have to squeeze up, make it messy, force a mistake, because waiting politely is how you get picked apart.
Now we've got a little air coming out of the Netherlands price, 0.74 down to 0.73 bid. And more importantly, bid depth just got chopped hard across the board. That's classic liquidity stepped back, like a team suddenly dropping deeper and inviting pressure. Buyers just sprinted back in. Netherlands is re-anchored 0.74, 0.75, and bid depth rebuilt to 165K, so that little wobble got bought like a dip in a bull tape. Draw liquidity also refilled, but Japan still looks like a thin market. One headline and it...
Dutch are classic front runners, score first, lock it down, feels like a low-risk defensive blue chip strategy. Got a quick market analogy for a team that wins by clean sheets rather than big goal returns?
Totally, this is like owning a dividend aristocrat. You're not chasing explosive upside, you're collecting steady, clean sheet yield and protecting capital. The risk is the one shock goal, like a surprise rate hike that reprices everything in a heartbeat. This tape's basically stable. Netherlands still pinned 8.0.74, 0.75 with solid bid support, so the crowd's staying long and calm. Japan's side remains thin, meaning any sudden momentum swing is a fast, slippery move, like a counterattack on a tired backline.
Listen to that roar, Amo. Orange everywhere like the stadium's been dipped in paint and set on vibrate. The Dutch fans are turning this place into a street party, and you can feel Japan hearing it in every touch. That orange wall is booming, isn't it? Like a marching band with a football obsession. You can barely hear yourself think, and every Dutch touch gets a cheer like it's a shot on goal. Japan have to find some calm in the chaos. Somerville just hit the turbo there, blink and he's gone, and that ball in behind was pure mischief, but credit Japan, they didn't panic, they held their line and snuffed it out right when it smelled dangerous.
That little pop just got faded. Netherlands is back to 74.75 and bid depth slid hard, while the ask wall thickened, so sellers are leaning on the favorite. Feels like a team protecting a €1 lead but inviting pressure. One shaky clearance and the price can wobble.
Absolutely. Netherlands look like they've got one more punch loaded, just waiting for the clean connection. One sharper through ball, one better first touch.
That equalizer is a full sentiment shock. Netherlands go... Yep, that goal just blew out the Netherlands credit spread. Confidence reprices instantly, and the draw, Japan bids get all the flow. Right now, Japan looks like the momentum stock, while Netherlands is the former blue chip everyone's suddenly stress testing.
Gravenberch's recovery pace is unreal, like a blue chip stock snapping back after a dip. Got any quick take on how athletic momentum swings mirror market momentum?
We're getting a dead cat bounce in Netherlands to 0.38, 0.39, but look at that monster ask depth. Over $1 million. Sellers are stacking the box. Draw is now the hot trade 80.43, 0.44. Basically the market saying this match.
Japan have just equalized. Stadium erupts. Give us a quick market-style take. Momentum swing, pressure on Netherlands. Who looks like the better investment for the last stretch? IMO, Japan have just equalized. Oh, that's a nasty little Van Hecken nick, just enough to wrong foot Verbrugge, and suddenly the Dutch lead evaporates like it never existed. And Kubo drifting inside, demanding the ball, dragging markers out of shape. Japan have turned this into a street fight. Nakamura's got that striker's calm, doesn't he? One sniff and bang, he makes it count. And Cooper, what a little pickpocket moment in the build-up. Slips it through Dumfries' legs, that's nutmeg territory, and it stings. Nakamura's a proper finisher, either foot, no panic, just precision under pressure, and Cooper is the creator, nicking it and sliding it through Dumfries' legs. That's cheeky, that's street football, and it's got the Dutch rattled. Nakamura's got ice in his veins, either foot, same ruthless finish, and Japan are roaring now, but Cooper, wow, robs it, threads it under Dumfries' legs like he's pulling a curtain. That's pure mischief and pure quality.
This is pure whipsaw. Netherlands win price got chopped from the low 40s.
Nakamura's hunting everything now, sniffs that pass out and pounces like a striker who can smell fear. 14 for Reams tells you it's no fluke. He lives in that pocket and he's making the Netherlands feel every touch.
The draw just became the market's base case, 44%, and you can see why. Bids are thickening while Netherlands is leaking down at 0.36, 0.37. Japan's still priced like a long shot, but in a momentum game, that's the cheap call option if the pressure keeps building. Draws cooling a touch to 0.43, 0.44, but it's still the extra time trade, and the book remains top heavy on the sell side. Tons of offers, not much real bid muscle. Netherlands is trying to stabilize 0.37, 0.38, yet with that giant legacy.
Gravenberch tries to force it, and Nakamura just reads it like tomorrow's headlines. Snap, intercept, and Japan are straight back on the front foot. 14 it rhymes, that's a man in form, and you can feel the Dutch defense getting twitchy. Nakamura's got that I'm too good for this postcode vibe, doesn't he? Two-footed, sharp, and suddenly everything funnels through him. And now the Dutch win a corner, Van Dijk prowling like a bouncer at the back post. This match has properly caught fire.
Draw is getting bid up again, 80.45, 0.46. Market's basically saying this is headed to extra time. And that bid...
Oh, that counter was sizzling, and Somerville just pulls the emergency brake. No debate, that's a booking all day. Japan had them stretched like elastic there, and the Dutch bench will be fuming at the cheap yellow. Here comes the corner, bodies everywhere, and Van Heck is practically in Verbrugge's lap, trying to turn it into a wrestling match. Van Dijk's lurking too. One clean contact and the net could bulge in a heartbeat. Cleared, just about. Van der Ven and Van Hecke threw themselves at it, but Japan stand firm, and now they're eyeing the break like a sprinter off the blocks. Netherlands have to scramble back. One sloppy step and they're in trouble.
Netherlands just slipped again to 0.355, 0.36, while the draw holds firm 8, 0.45, 0.46. Money's rotating from favorite wins to this stays level. Japan ticking up a cent tells you the underdog tail. Draw's still the captain at 45%, but notice the bid depth just fell off a cliff. This move is holding on price, not on muscle. Netherlands can't lift off 0.35, 0.36, so any fresh selling could tip this into a full-on stalemate.
If that kid's still asleep, someone give him a nudge. This has turned into a roller coaster. The tempo's up. Absolutely, Amo. One nick off a defender and the whole stadium swings like a market on bad earnings. Japan will smell blood now while the Dutch look rattled, and that confidence dip can turn into a second goal in a flash. Japan just nicked a goal with a wicked deflection. Stadium's bouncing in Dallas. Give me your market reaction take. Who's crashing? Who's rallying after that surprise swing?
That deflection is a pure momentum shock. Japan should gap higher fast. Netherlands gets hit with a confident sell-off, and the draw price should sag as traders reprice away from extra time. Classic underdog goal, crowd flips, liquidity thins, and you get a quick air.
Doan had a lovely pocket of space, and the delivery was begging for a red shirt to attack it. Yet the box was empty. What a waste. Then the whistle goes, and suddenly the Dutch get a breather just when Japan were winding up.
Absolutely. After that deflection, Netherlands is the one taking the hit, drifting down to 0.34, 0.35, as traders dump the favorite like a red card just came out. Japan firms up, and the draw stays sticky because the market... Now you're seeing the post-goal reshuffle. Netherlands bid depth rebounds hard, even though price is still pinned 8, 0.34, 0.35, so dip buyers are stepping in like a top seed down a goal, but finally pressing. Draw and Japan both have heavier ask...
Van der Vaart's starving out there, marked like a VIP at a sold-out club, no room to dance, but Somerville doesn't need an invitation. He lets one fly on target, and that'll wake...
Spot on, Leo. One clean finish is like a turnover touchdown. Odds gap out fast because traders price game state more than talent. The lead pulls in momentum chasers on Netherlands, while late game risk shifts to cheap Japan, and draw punts for anyone betting on chaos. Netherlands is getting marked up again, 0.76, 0.77 now, and the bid depth is building, so the crowd's leaning into the lead rather than fading it. Japan at a nickel is pure Hail Mary pricing, and the draw drifting lower says the market expects game management, not late draw.
Van der Vaart's being squeezed out of the game, every lane shut like rush hour traffic. Somerville says, fine, I'll do it myself, cracks one on target, and suddenly the keeper's got work to do. Netherlands just ripped one. Somerville's strike flips momentum instantly. Give us the market read. How does a lead change like that swing odds, psychology, and late game risk appetite?
Netherlands is back to being the crowded trade, 0.76, 0.77, with bid depth swelling, so buyers are still stepping in on any tiny dip. But the draw in Japan books are basically a wall of offers, which tells you the market's ready to fade any late twist the moment it shows. Netherlands keeps grinding higher to 0.77, 0.78, but notice the draw in Japan bid depth just thinned out. Buyers aren't even bothering to stand in front of the train. That's classic protect the lead pricing. Low appetite for chaos, and anyone chasing the upset is basically taking a long shot from... We're seeing a little give back. Netherlands eases to 0.76, 0.77, and Japan's ass pops out to 0.06, so liquidity's getting jumpy even if the headline odds barely move. That draw bid depth rebounding is the tell. Some traders are buying late.
Somerville's finish felt like a textbook trained pattern. One clean touch from Gravenberch, and it's a low-risk, high-return strike, like a perfectly timed buy order hitting the corner, crowd noise spiking like volume after a breakout.
Exactly, Leo. When the goal looks scripted, the market treats it like confirmation, not a fluke. So spreads tighten and the favorite gets that breakout premium. But with those huge offer walls, it's still a game of taking profit before the next counterpunt. Netherlands is still priced like the champ at byte 77 0.78, but that bid depth just collapsed from six figures to...
Maeda trudges off. Maeda's off, and Aito on, and Moriyasu's rolling the dice. Fresh legs, fresh ideas, and suddenly Japan looked dangerous again. Kubo just unleashed a thunderbolt there. You could hear the net ripple in his imagination. That was inches from being a postcard goal. And that's the frustration with a talent like Kubo. When he grabs it, the whole stadium leans forward, but he's got to demand it more often. Quick drinks break now, but this game's crackling. You just know the next moment of magic is lurking. Somerville's lit the fuse and Dallas is roaring. What a finish, guided into the corner like it had a postcode. And then Gakpo turns on the afterburners, slaloms through, but Ito throws his body in like a human sandbag. That block is worth a goal.
Support just came roaring back on Netherlands. Bid depth jumps to 130k, while price holds 0.77, 0.78. That's buyers reforming the defensive line. Meanwhile, Japan gets marked down to 0.03, 0.0. Netherlands ticks up to a 78% lean with even more bid depth behind it, 141k now, so the market's basically parking the bus in front of the favorite. But those monster ask stacks across the board scream take profit overhead, so upside is a grind, not a sprint. Netherlands stays steady, 0.77, 0.78, but the headline whale trimmed. Flickraw drops from 2.9 M to 2.75 M. So someone's quietly banking gains while the crowd still cheers. And look at that fresh, bearish Japan size at crazy. Now we've got real two-way action. Japan pops back to 5% with bid depth exploding to nearly 16k, and the draw bid depth doubles too. Someone's buying insurance. Netherlands is still the heavy favorite, but this is that moment the underdog starts winning second balls and the crowd gets... That little Japan flare cooled off, back to 4%, while Netherlands reasserts at 78% and keeps a chunky 227k bid wall, so the favorite's still controlling possession. Draw depth stays elevated though, which tells you traders are hedging for a scrappy zero.
We've had the adverts doing stepovers there, but now it's back to the real thing. Adam snapping into it early, setting the tempo like a metronome with studs. One clean touch and suddenly you can smell a counterattack brewing again.
Japan's got a tiny pulse again, 5% in bid depth, back above 15k, so there's some nibbling on the long shot, but it's still a bench player, not a starter. Netherlands remains pinned at 0.77, 0.78, with even more bid support.
All right, we've had more commercials than corners, but the football's back, and Adams is straight into a crunching tempo setter. One slick touch, heads up, and suddenly there's daylight. This is where a game can flip in 2 passes. That deal sounds like a high press on your wallet. In a good way, Amo would be nodding along here. But I'll tell you what, if the match gives us 4 goals for that price, I'm signing up twice.
That draw book just got a lot more serious. Top bid is now sitting right at 0.1 gain with size, and total bid depth jumps to 75k, so traders are leaning into the stalemate hedge. Netherlands is still priced like the clear favorite, but this is the market bracing for...
They're pushing 4 lines for 25 per line. Give us the quick analyst take, real value or marketing smoke, and what's the catch?
Yeah, it's classic bundle pricing. Looks like a bargain because the per line cost drops. Real value if you were already going to run 4 lines on Verizon for a while, but it's absolutely a fine print game. Credits over 24-36 months, trade-in requirements, and pricey plans baked in. It's a free transfer in football. You pay the wages.
Verizon's pushing 4 phones for $0, 4 lines $25 each, ends June 17. Give us the quick analyst take, real value or classic promo fine print trap.
Big tell here, Netherlands bid depth just exploded to about 306k while price barely budges, 0.77, 0.78. Someone's building a serious support line. Draw is still sticky with that 0.18 bid and rising. Now we've got a clean momentum nudge to Netherlands. Price ticks up to 0.78, 0.79, and win odds 79%. That's the favorite tightening the grip. But the draw bid depth just collapsed, so that stall-out hedge got pulled like a tired defense.
Verizon's 4 lines for $25 is like squad depth value per head. Meanwhile, Netherlands bring on Depay and Timber to close it out. Any quick take on how these bundle deals hook fans during big games?
Totally. Bundles sell certainty when emotions are high, like locking in a season ticket right after a last-minute winner. Big games spike attention, so carriers dangle free hardware and let the long contract do the scoring. Netherlands just gave back that little pop, down to 0.777778, and win odds slipped to 78%, so the market's taking a breather after the run. Draw depth is creeping up again, which screams late equalizer insurance getting bought back in.
Depay's on, and you can feel the voltage jump. One touch from him, and the whole stadium leans forward. Japan swarm like hornets to nick it back, but now Kubo's down, and that's a nasty little pause in the rhythm. This thriller's got another twist brewing. You can smell it. Yeah, I'm with you. Looks more like a tangle in traffic than anything malicious, just one of those awkward 2-on-1 squeezes. But these stoppages are dangerous. They cool one team and light a fuse under the other.
That's a real sentiment swing. Netherlands jumps to 0.79, 0.80, while draw and Japan both get smacked down a couple ticks. Money's rotating hard into the favorite. But liquidity is drying up across the board, so this feels like a late-game counterattack risk. Netherlands holding 0.79, 0.80 with win odds nudging 80%. That's the favorite parking the bus and the market buying it. Japan's now 0.03, 0.03. Basically no spread, but the bid depth is tiny, so any real buying would rip it like a breakaway.
Less travel is like fresher legs in the 80th minute, tiny margins, massive payoff, especially in a tournament grind. And there's the proof. That laser pass, Gakpo one-on-one snaps the shot, Suzuki down like a trapdoor. What a save to keep Japan breathing.
We're seeing a little draw creep back to 0.
Depay whips it in, Van Hecke gets the glance, but it's all steering wheel, no engine. Japan survive again, and now the bench is in full motion, triple change loading, and if Kubo can't continue, that's like taking the spark plug out of their attack.
Netherlands odds just slipped hard from 0.79, 0.80 to 0.75, 0.76, with win prob down to 76% and bid depth collapsing. Feels like momentum swung or a scare. Can you add match style read on what kind of on-field moment usually triggers this kind of late drift?
Absolutely, that kind of odds drift screams warning flare on the pitch. One big save like Suzuki's, a key man limping, or a sudden spell of Japan pinning them back and winning second. Japan are starting to purr with those little 1-2s down the flank, slipping runners in behind and making the Dutch backline glance over their shoulders. Doan's off, big call taking the armband away, and Sugawara comes on with fresh legs and a point to prove. Japan are stitching passes together beautifully down that side, and those runs in behind are starting to ask real questions. Doan hands over the armband.
Absolutely, that's the classic star limps off and the crowd panics moment. Expect spreads to widen and liquidity to vanish for a few minutes. Japan's price can still spike on pure chaos, but structurally it's a downgrade to their comeback odds.
Ooh, Japan suddenly sniffing it. One sharp burst and Van der Ven has to slam the door with his body. Corner coming, and you can feel the tension rise in orange shirts as they scramble to reset. Kubo going off injured is exactly the kind of late shock that makes markets twitch. Japan lose their main creative spark, but it can also trigger a short, chaotic surge as fresh subs press and the game gets scrappy.
Draw is getting a little more respect, 80.19020, while Netherlands ticks down to 0.76077. Classic, protect the lead but don't get cute pricing. Japan's still a thin 4.4005, so any headline or chance swings it fast. That little scare just got bought clean. Netherlands is back to 0.79, 0.80, and Japan squeezed down to 0.03, so the market's re-rating this as business as usual. Draw slipping to wise 17, 0.18 tells you the late.
Kubo off injured feels like Japan losing their key creative asset, like a blue chip getting halted mid-session. Quick take on how teams manage risk when their star stock goes down?
Yeah, when your star stock gets halted, you stop playing cute. Japan will go more direct, press in bursts, and hope for a set-piece earnings surprise. Netherlands should just manage the clock like a team protecting a 1-0 lead, no hero ball. Netherlands is holding that 0.79, 0.80 line with chunky bid depth. This is the market parking the bus and daring Japan to break it down. Draw staying pinned AT 0.17, 0.18 says traders see control, not chaos, and Japan AT 0.03.
Holland on the Late Show. If he's half as lively as he is in the box, that'll be must-watch telly. But back to the here and now. Gakpo picks it up, head up, and you can feel the Dutch crowd leaning forward like the tide's coming in. Timber steps in and keeps it moving. Calm as you like, no panic, just that Dutch rhythm. Japan have to snap into shape here or this possession will turn into a wave crashing at the edge of the box.
We're seeing a tiny wobble. Netherlands slips 2.778, 0.79. And Japan's ask pops to 0.04, which is basically the market pricing in one scary counter. Still, the draw hasn't caught a real bid, so this feels like a breather, not a momentum swing.
Gakpo's got that grin on now. He's smelling blood down the left, sharper and more direct, like he's switched into turbo. And the Dutch are winning every aerial scrap. Van Hecke, Van Dijk, Timber, thump, thump, thump. They're building pressure brick by brick. He's nearly wriggled free there, but the finish just didn't have the sting, like a firework that fizzles out. And yes, Gakpo's flying now, fewer touches, more bite, while Van Hecke and Van Dijk are owning the skies and Timber keeps the tempo ticking.
Now we've got real drift. Netherlands down to 0.777, 0.78, while the draw ticks up to 0.19. That's the market pricing, and this isn't over yet. Bid depth on Netherlands has thinned hard, so any scary Japan sequence can move this.
Mito whips it in with real venom, but it's a postcard to nobody. Japan needed a runner gambling at the far stick. The captain tries to recycle it, but that's a big let-off for the Dutch backline.
Market's basically holding the new range. Netherlands stuck 8, 0.77, 0.78, and the draw still firmer 8, 0.1, 0.19, so nerves are lingering. With Netherlands bid depth this light, it's like defending a one-goal lead with tired legs.
Another teasing ball from Mito, and again it's crying out for a blue shirt to attack it. Empty seats in the danger zone. Hiroki Uto tries to gather the scraps, but the moment's gone and the defense resets.
Big tell here. Netherlands bid depth just...
The Dutch in front, and you can feel that orange tide just swell with every touch. Confidence flowing like it's on tap. Japan now have to chase with their brains, not their brawn, because the Netherlands will happily sit in that lead and punish any panic. You can't keep tossing it into a Van Dijk fortress, Owen. Japan need that quick 1-2 stuff, zip it around and slice them open. And listen to this crowd. What a picture with those two fans arm in arm. Football at its best. Sugawara's throw comes in.
Netherlands just firmed to 0.79, 0.80, and that's the market putting the foot on the ball. Control, not chaos. Japan's bid depth collapsing is brutal. It's like they've stopped getting touches in midfield, so any comeback trade is basically a lottery ticket.
IMO, the Dutch fans are turning this place into an orange carnival. Open-top buses, songs, the lot. Give me your best market analogy. Is this crowd sentiment a bull run or what?
Absolutely, Leo. This is pure bull market energy. When the stands get loud, the tape gets thin, and late money chases at worse prices. But crowds can overheat like a team pressing too high. One clean counter, and you get a sharp pullback.
That one's fired right into Gravenberch, and it ricochets out. Cheap turnover, and Japan can't afford those now. The Netherlands have definitely sunk a yard or two after the changes, looking to strangle the clock. But that can invite trouble if Japan find a rhythm.
Netherlands is still pinned at 0.79, 0.80, but notice the bid depth easing off. Supports there, just not as beefy as a minute ago. Japan remains a ghost bid with massive offers overhead, so any shock move would be a pure momentum spike, not fundamentals.
That's it, don't just sit on it. Go hunt the third and slam the door. The stadium's roaring, and Ito's got a sniff down the side, but De Jong's recovery pace is like a closing elevator, just shuts the gap in a heartbeat. Oh, that was the moment Sugawara...
Spot on, Leo. When big clubs sniff around, that's multiple bidders tightening the spread and giving Brighton real leverage to name a price. A late Ake-type sub is classic risk management. You're up on the scoreboard, so you rotate into defense and protect the PN. Now that's a reload. Netherlands bid depth just surged back to 230k, while price holds 0.80, 0.81, so the favorites getting fresh protection like a second wave of defenders. Draw and Japan still show that towering 0.99 offer wall.
Big club circling Van Hecke. Brighton asset appreciating fast. Give us the transfer market angle. Valuation jump, leverage, and what a late defensive sub like Ake signals in risk management terms.
Netherlands is still steady 0.81, but the sell side just thickened hard. Ask depth jumped to 773k, and that 0.99 wall got bigger, so upside's getting capped. Japan slipping to a 0.02 bid is the market. Draw just got marked down to 16% with 0.16, 0.17, so the market's fading the stalemate and leaning even harder into a Dutch result. Netherlands stays 0.80, 0.81, but that heavy offer stack is still sitting there like a packed penalty box. Netherlands just ticked up to 0.81, small price lift, but notice the bid depth is fading, so it's more drift than conviction. Japan tightening to 0.02 is basically no buyers, just a parked market, while the draws.
They're talking about the stadium spending, snacks, screens, big events. Give us your quick dollars flying take and how a back five is like shifting into capital preservation mode late on.
Yeah, that's the in-stadium velocity trade. When the
Van Dijk strides in like a bouncer at closing time, and suddenly the Dutch look to slow the chaos with De Jong and Memphis linking up. Japan's bench is bouncing, 8 minutes left, and you can feel one last roll of the dice coming. IMO, the stadium talk, Super Bowl, Tyson Stones, and now Koeman's gone to a back five to protect the lead. Feels like a big money risk-off move late on. Give us your market analogy for shutting up shop in the final minutes.
Nailed it. Leo, going into a back five is the manager hitting risk off, trimming exposure and buying protection when volatility spikes late. It's like a fund manager rotating from high beta into cash and defensives with the clock running down. Ugly, but it wins. This is sneaky risk off under the hood. Netherlands still priced like the favorite 0.81, 0.82, but bid depth just collapsed to 61k. Buyers stepped back. Japan ticks up to 3% and the draw book thins too.
This place is a money printing machine. Super Bowls, fights, concerts, now World Cup.
Yeah, that's a self-inflicted volatility spike, like a PM selling covered calls and then taking a leverage bet on the same book. When you're defending a lead, discipline is the hedge. One silly card is a liquidity event waiting to happen. Exactly, Leo. When the venue calendar's stacked, it's recurring revenue with a playoff schedule, and the crowd spends like liquidity is endless. The back five is the hedge. You cap upside, but you dramatically cut the odds of a late, ugly drawdown.
Memphis just picked up a needless yellow. Koeman looks furious and might hook him early. Feels like a bad risk management moment. Got any quick take on discipline as a portfolio hedge when you're protecting a lead? It has come on like a spark in dry grass, loses the first duel, wins the second, and suddenly Japan are marching up the touchline with real bite. Tomiyasu swings it in, and you can feel the Dutch backline bracing for impact.
Pricing's
Oof! Here comes the Dutch enforcer. This is a message substitution, if ever there was one. Netherlands are saying, no more free rides, and you can feel the temperature rise as the tackles start to bite.
Netherlands just got a tiny wobble. Best bid slips to 0.80 while the ask holds 0.82, so confidence is high but not bulletproof. Japan's spread compressing to 0.02, 0.02 screams no liquidity, and that's when a single. Now we've got real momentum. Netherlands ticks up to 83%, and more importantly, bid depth triples to 181k, so buyers are finally showing up with size. That sub is a classic hedge, Leo. Yep, that's risk management first.
Koeman's seen one sloppy giveaway and bang, straight to the bench. That's ruthless management. Gakpo off, Robin on, and you can feel the game plan shift. Hold it up, bully the back line, make Japan hate every clearance. Memphis drops in, Robin becomes the battering ram. IMO. Netherlands just brought on a real bruiser. Total protect the lead move. Give us your market style read. Is this a hedge or a signal they're going all in for the win? IMO. Netherlands just brought on a real bruiser. Feels like a late game risk management move to protect the lead. Give us your market style read. Defensive hedge or a signal they're going to bully their way to the finish.
Netherlands stays pinned at 83% with that 0.82, 0.83, but the real story is Japan's bid just fell to 0.01. Buyers basically left the stadium. Draw bid depth is fading too, so if anything chaotic happens, this thing will get. Netherlands is getting priced like a team seeing out stoppage time. 85%, and creeping up to 0.84, 0.85. The draw book just got vacuumed on the bid side, so there's no real support if momentum flips. It's a one-way crowd trade right now. Totally, this is like a PM cutting a high beta flyer and rotating into a dividend bruiser the moment volatility spikes. It screams protect the P&L, but you sacrifice upside if Japan suddenly gaps you on a fast break.
Nakamura hangs it up, and for a split second it's panic stations. Then Van Dijk rises like a lighthouse in a storm and just clears the lot. That's captain's defending, chest out, no nonsense, get it out and breathe. Another one swung in, and it's danger again. Then Van Dijk just bullies the air and sends it packing. That's leadership in a header, timing perfect, shoulders squared, and the Dutch bench can finally exhale for a heartbeat.
Now we're seeing a real wobble. Netherlands slips to 82% and the draw pops to 17%, with the favorites' bid depth collapsing to just 23k. Support is getting yanked. That's classic late-game nerves positioning. One Japan chance, and this...
Oof, Shiogai was a whisker away. Japan are sniffing it now, and you're right. Keep it on the deck, zip it, make those big Dutch lads turn. Free kick here, and the momentum's all in blue. Netherlands suddenly look like they're running in sand. Shiogai nearly pounced there. Japan have found a rhythm, and it's all about those low, nasty balls that skid and bite. Asu's clipped free kick Japan, and you can feel the stadium leaning forward. The Dutch are hanging on by their fingernails. Shiogai's a fraction from getting a toe on it, and Japan have absolutely got the scent. Keep it low, keep it sharp, make it a street fight on the grass. Another set-piece chance now, and they look the fresher side by a mile as this finishes with a roar.
Netherlands is still the favorite, but the tape's getting slippery. Price ticks down to 811.082, and bid depth is barely 12.5k, so there's not much defense if sellers press. Meanwhile, the draw is being marked up to 1.
Japan sling it in, but it's repelled again. Netherlands defending like a brick wall, with Depay loitering upfield like a pickpocket waiting for a loose wallet. Ito's been electric down that right, and the tempo's gone up a gear. This second half has been pure.
That's a clean momentum swing back to the Dutch. Netherlands up to 84%, and the bid steps right back in with 72k of depth, like the crowd roaring after a big tackle. Draw gets marked down again, and with that tighter point, 84.85, buyers. Yeah, Leo, that's a buzzer beater that flips the closing print. Everyone who was marked safe is suddenly scrambling to hedge. Mentally, you treat it like a bad close. Reset, stick to structure, and don't chase the next candle out of pure tilt.
No breathing space at all. Japan keep knocking, and the Dutch are just clearing their lines like a team trying to survive a storm. Dion gets it away, but you can feel another wave already building.
Exactly, Leo. Those high balls are like slamming market orders into a thin book. You pay the spread and lose control of the entry. When Japan plays it on the deck, it's more like using limit orders to pick pockets between lines. Cleaner execution. Leo, this is a full momentum flip. Draw now priced R79%, with Netherlands down at 10%, like a last-minute equalizer sucking the air out of the stadium. Crowd psychology is driving it. Everyone hedging to the no-winner outcome fast.
Absolutely, Imo. This feels like a market circuit breaker moment. The Dutch lead just got wiped off the board in one brutal candle. You can see the body language swing instantly. Japan surging, Netherlands suddenly protecting the point like it's a safe haven asset. Yeah, those floated crosses are like buying a tall stock with short money. Looks hopeful, but the numbers don't add up against these Dutch center halves. When Japan zip it on the deck, though, it's electric. Nito in behind, Dumfries throwing his body in, and now...
Draw is basically the new favorite at 81%, and the book confirms it. Bid depth is stacked.
Oh, the substitute writes the headline. Okawa storms in, and Dallas erupts to 2, and it's chaos again. And fair play, those crosses were like waves on a seawall. Keep crashing, one finally breaks through, and now the Dutch look rattled. You could feel it coming like thunder. Japan have been rattling that door, and it's finally burst open. That delivery was
Totally. An intervention like that widens the spread instantly. Risk off, everyone marks down the next clean chance, and liquidity pulls back. But it also creates a set-piece event premium, so pricing can snap back fast if the restart favors the...
Ref just booked for stopping a promising attack. Feels like a regulator stepping in mid-rally. Any quick read on how a sudden intervention like that shifts momentum pricing? He's just become the unluckiest wall in Dallas. Wrong place, wrong time, and suddenly everyone's screaming for paint. But by the letter of it, if it kills the break, the ref's got no choice but to reach for that yellow. I hear you. He's not trying to play basketball out there. It's instinct and chaos at full speed. But if his body blocks, Japan's bench has flipped the... Those Japan changes have been pure electricity. Ito down that right side is tearing pages out of the Dutch game plan. 6 added minutes with Van der Ven booked and the Netherlands sinking deeper. You can feel Japan sniffing blood here. They look...
Now you can see the ref effect in the tape. Draws still priced rich at 82%, but the ask wall just ballooned to 255K. Sellers leaning on it hard, like defenders packing the box. Meanwhile, Japan and Netherlands both have massive offer stacks too. Draws getting bid up again. Best bid 0.82 with bid depth jumping to 155K. So buyers are pressing like a team camping in the opponent's half. But the real story is the giant offer stacks on Japan and Netherlands. That's the market saying upside is capped unless something dramatic happens. Spot on. When the market parks the bus, it's inviting chaos on the next set piece. With bids so shallow, the first real sell wave turns into a rout, and suddenly everyone's chasing like I do after missing the opening move. Draws now priced like it's already in the trophy cabinet. 0.95 bid with a chunky spread, 2.97. So upside is pennies, while downside is a trapdoor if anything breaks. Japan and Netherlands books are basically empty on the bid, so a single goal event would...
Ito stands him up brilliantly, no diving in, just shepherds him to nowhere, and Nakamura arrives like a second wave to slam the door. That's the kind of defending that drains belief from an attack inch by inch.
Now the draw is basically a penalty with the keeper already diving, 0.97, 0.98, and the ask side is paper thin at just 14k, so it can pin to 0.99 in a blink. But the other two books are ghost towns on bids, so any shock turns this from...
What a ride, end-to-end drama, momentum swinging like a pendulum, and neither side blinking when it mattered. That's the kind of match that leaves your voice hoarse and your heart doing extra time all on its own. Absolutely, 90 minutes that felt like a roller coaster with the safety bar missing, 2 leads, 2 answers, and that late surge in urgency from Japan had the whole place humming. So have I. Proper football, full of nerve and noise, the kind that makes you forget to breathe for a second. If that's a quiet game on paper, then give me this every day of the week.
This is full final whistle pricing, draw pinned 80.99 with no asks, just a wall of bids, so the market's basically declaring it over. But that's also peak complacency. If any late twist hits, there's zero two-way liquidity, and the gap move...
IMO. That 2-2 felt like a volatile market. 2 Dutch rallies, 2 Japanese corrections. Give us your closing bell take. Who gained value in Group F and who's sweating the next fixture?
Closing bell, Japan's stock pops on resilience, 2 comebacks is pure momentum trade, while Netherlands looks like a favorite that couldn't put the game away, so confidence takes a hit. In Group F, the draw keeps everyone alive, but the next fixture pressure shifts to the Dutch.
Spot on, Amo. Japan's got that buy-the-dip spirit on the pitch. Every setback just sparks another surge. The Dutch will feel it like a blue chip that missed earnings. Still strong, but suddenly everyone's watching the next result with a magnifying glass. What a classic. Twice the Dutch thought they'd bank it, and twice Japan ripped up the script with ice-cold replies. Dallas got a 2-2 that felt like a heavyweight bout. Nobody staying down. Now rainbow flicks and bicycle kicks. Keep your head up and your studs down, folks. Netherlands twice in front, and still Japan clawed it back. Pure grit, pure timing, and that Kamada touch was silk in a storm. Dallas leaves with a draw that tastes like drama. Now for the skills. Rainbow flick for flair, bicycle kick for bravery. Don't try it in the living room. And we're back under those blazing lights. Everything looks faster, sharper, louder. You can feel the energy crackling like the stadium's plugged into the mains, and the next moment could spark into something special. Back under the floodlights again. Those beams make every touch look like it's under a microscope. You can almost hear the crowd lean forward. Something's brewing, and it only takes one flash of brilliance to light the whole place up. IMO, we keep cutting back to these blinding floodlights like a market opening bell. Everything feels amplified. Give us a quick take. When the lights come on, do traders get that same adrenaline spike as a stadium?
Absolutely, Leo. Bright lights are the opening bell for the nervous system. Spreads tighten, fingers get twitchy, and people chase momentum like it's a counterattack. That adrenaline can create clean breakouts, but it also breeds overtrading and sloppy tackles.
That's a tasty little sponsorship plug. $7 and you're eating like you just won man of the match. But now the real hunger is for goals, because this game's got that one chance and it explodes feeling, doesn't it? That's the triple whammy of promos. Tubi for the banter, Toyota for the long run, and the crowd just waiting for the next gear change on the pitch. IMO would call it value. I call it keep it moving, because this match is begging for a breakout moment.
We're basically flatlining here. Draw stays 0.99 with the bid wall holding around 622k, so the market's still pricing game over. But that growing Netherlands offer stack 8.01 is like an underdog warming up a last-minute set piece.
IMO, they're comparing red cards to credit cards on air. Give us your quick take on that points versus punishment analogy and whether 3x dining and a $300 travel credit is actually a good deal. Check your pocket is peak teammate energy, always looking for the quick assist, even off the ball. And True is trying to play the 1-2 with the slogan, but we're all just waiting for the next surge upfield.
We're seeing the draw bid wall keep eroding, down to about 605k and fewer shares 0.99, so confidence is leaking even if the headline probability hasn't moved. Netherlands 0.01 offers are thinning too, which tells me the mirror draw support keeps bleeding. Now roughly 600k and the top level is lighter, so the market's still sure, but it's getting less comfortable holding that certainty. Japan's Poizo Zero stack is back up with even more shares, which feels like fans rushing the exits. Draw just snapped to 100%, with best bid 1ho and bid depth exploding to $1.69m. Feels like the market's calling full-time. Can you give the crowd psychology late game analogy for this kind of everyone piles into the winner moment?